and welcome to this episode of Security Journal UK Leaders in Security podcast series. I'm your host, Millie Marshall Loughran, and I'm the Deputy Editor of Security Journal UK. As cloud technology reshapes the security landscape, many organisations are reassessing how they manage and monitor video surveillance. In this episode, we explore what cloud CCTV really means, the advantages it offers over traditional on-premise systems, and the misconceptions that often surround VSaaS systems. We also unpack what managed cloud looks like for everyday users and consider how the market is expected to evolve in the coming years. To help us dive into all of this, I'm joined with Phil, Richard and Mike. Phil is the Director of Alert Data and founder of Seeing. Richard is a Sales Manager at AlertSystems, and Mike is Head of IT at Charlie Bigham's, a customer of Alert Data. So thank you all so much for joining me today. How are you?
Great, thank you.
So before we get into the podcast, would you be able to introduce yourselves and your current roles? Shall we start with you, Phil?
Yeah, hi, good morning. I'm Phil Davies, 26 years in the security and the IT landscape, currently serving as the Operations Director for Alert Data and the Product Development Lead for Seeing, our Video as a Service product.
Brilliant, thank you so much. And yourself, Mike?
Yeah, hi there. I'm Mike Calverley. I'm the Head of IT at Charlie Bigham's. I've been in IT for a long time, 25 years, and I've been at Charlie Bigham's for 3 years now. I'm responsible for our cybersecurity, IT operations, and business change functions, including our wider digital transformation program.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Mike. And Richard?
Hi, my name's Richard Flenley. I'm Sales Manager at AlertSystems. I've worked at AlertSystems for 23 years now, and I work with my team to help hopefully provide the best advice and support to our existing customers and help develop new business across the board, really. So that involves keeping up to date with new technology, all the relevant standards, whether it's across intruder alarms, access control, fire alarm and detection systems, or CCTV. So if you are on top of those elements, then you can't offer the best level of service and advice to your clients.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Richard. So what is cloud CCTV and what benefits does it bring? Should we start with you, Mike?
Yeah, sure. So cloud CCTV is obviously a modern cloud-based video security solution that replaces the old traditional on-premise CCTV systems. We used to have that, and that aging infrastructure started to fail and cause us problems. But the cloud-based solution is much better because it's we have it as a managed solution. It's flexible. It helps us on our Cyber Essentials Plus journey. It's helped us retire old legacy unsupported on-premise equipment that did pose both security and operational risks to us. New solution is highly scalable, it's versatile, and it is simple to use, which gives us that strong security posture. And that platform allows us to grow the business, especially if we're expanding physically. It's quick to scale up. It's also reduce the operational burden on my team, which is fantastic because they can then work on higher value projects rather than supporting old legacy CCTV systems that keep failing. And it requires minimal ongoing support, which is great. And yeah, as I said, it frees up people in my team, which I really like. And they're not firefighting kind of old hardware issues and old software issues that gets really frustrating and demoralizing for them because ultimately people want to grow and develop, don't they? And, they don't want to be supporting old systems. So this has really helped my team and help modernize our technology landscape.
I think from my perspective, it brings a whole new aspect to how we view CCTV for our customers and clients. And I think the way in which the features that Mike's just referenced in terms of touching on cybersecurity, it opens doors to us to talk to different businesses and different people within those businesses that we weren't communicating with before. So it's opening, I would say it's definitely opening more doors for us.
Yeah, it's a great point there, Rich, actually, because I think what we also see from the transition to cloud, we're able to use that sort of power of the cloud, the scalability as Mike covered off, but providing the next generation tools. This is where we can, revitalize that legacy system, making them smarter, potentially extending their lifespan, where we've got rid of on-premise servers, but maybe the cameras are still pretty functional. So moving to the cloud allows us to obviously leverage that, and also, it's got quite a good green, perspective as well. If we are able to upcycle existing, camera technology using the power of the cloud, I think there's a definite green credentials there as well.
So what would you say to someone who's only ever used traditional on-premise CCTV systems?
Well, I would firstly say not all of our customers are, they have the systems, it works away in the background, and they're not all up to date on what the relevant trends in the market are. So the people I'd be talking to who have traditionally used on-prem systems, I would be having conversations with them on a regular basis if they're my customers already, keeping them up to date and making sure that we can share our knowledge with them. And it also helps stay current, helping them to stay current. And they can also then, if we're giving them the right information and sharing the knowledge in terms of what's happening with cloud and CCTV, that they can plan ahead. And, whether that be for a VSaaS service or something else.
Yeah, and just to comment on that, Richard, as a customer, I would say if you've only ever worked with a traditional on-premise CCTV system, I'd strongly recommend and encourage people to look at, the Seeing platform. Richard was our installer and did an exceptional job, and you can take a look at what like a modern cloud CCTV can offer you, because the difference is significant. One of the biggest advantages is the ability to budget and predict fixed monthly costs, which is fantastic for me as a, someone in charge of a cost center. I would just want to know what my fixed costs are each month, and this cloud solution does that. I don't get any unexpected costs anymore from hardware failures, which is brilliant. So I don't have those sleepless nights when things fails, because it's just all managed and looked after. And the uptime, Richard, quote me if I'm wrong here, but we haven't had an outage with your solution, so it's brilliant. I'm touching wood as I'm saying that, by the way. But this, it's absolutely fantastic. Never had an outage, and that makes the long-term financial planning far easier, as I just mentioned. As we just also talked about a moment ago, the solution is also inherently more secure by design, which, as I said, supports our Cyber Essentials Plus certification, which is massively important to Charlie Bigham's, as I think many companies these days, with the risks we face and see in the media from, cyber attacks, which is just a huge concern to all businesses.
Yeah, I think, one of the points that I'd probably add is that, if they haven't looked at it, I wouldn't be suggesting they have to look at it. I'll be asking what the pain points are. We often hear, end-of-life operating systems, connectivity challenges, and transitioning to the cloud, and be it a product that is 100% browser-based, that allows it to be cross-device, cross-OS, connectivity, as long as you've got an internet connection, the connectivity is there. So with a lot of the traditional products, some of the pain points are so easily solved by actually transitioning to the cloud.
Absolutely, and I know I mentioned earlier, Phil, again, from that operational point of view, as a head of IT, my team no longer gets bogged down with maintaining or hand cranking old CCTV hardware and software. As I said, we can focus on value-adding business projects, which is fantastic. And that's where I think modern IT teams need to go. We need to be proactive, we need to be leaner, and this helps that, which is great.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, guys. So are there any misconceptions you would like to correct around VSaaS systems? Do you want to start, Richard?
Yeah, my talking to end users and the people I'm talking to now, historically haven't necessarily been close to the IT department. So a lot of the conversations that I was having, and I have to say I don't get this as often as I used to, but was about broadband speeds and connectivity, and people worrying about, was the broadband in the UK good enough? The reality is that gigabit rollout now is at about 85%, and Openreach has predicted it will be at 95 to 96% on all UK properties. We'll have fibre then by May 2027, with the aim being to have 99% coverage by 2030. So for me, that was one of the biggest concerns or obstacles that people used to raise. And more and more, I go into, sort of countryside locations to talk to some businesses. In fact, one of yours, Mike's, is pretty rural.
It is.
And you asked the question, what's your internet connectivity like? And they said, we've got 3 lease lines. Businesses are so well connected nowadays. I haven't found it to be a problem yet.
Yeah, absolutely, Richard. As you know, we're in a quarry here in Dulcott in Wells. So as Richard just mentioned, we've got a BT 1 gigabit line coming in, and we've got a True Speed 2 gigabit line coming in, and we've got Starlink. But yeah, never had a problem with the cloud service, and connectivity. It's been absolutely fine. But your point about everybody's well connected, they are. And as us being in a quarry, we don't have that problem. And if someone should, it should be us, but we don't. But Richard, just on your point, I think one misconception about a video surveillance as a service solution is that moving CCTV to the cloud, some people think it introduces more risk or reduces control, when in reality, I think the opposite is true. We operate a cloud-first strategy here, and almost all of our infrastructure now either sits in Microsoft Azure or other trusted cloud platforms. And the Seeing platform is a great example of this modern approach, and it's very well done. The solution integrates seamlessly with our environment through single sign-on. Again, that sort of security bit comes back in, which is a must for us, and you deliver that very well. So it gives us that strong security, simple user management, and that consistent experience across all our systems, because we want everything sort of single sign-on. As I mentioned earlier, we've not experienced any downtime, which does speak volumes about the reliability and resilience of the solution. So yeah, it's a very, very, very good solution.
Yeah, I think picking up on what Mike made there about the security piece. I've often heard people sort of say to me, why would I put my CCTV in the cloud? That's just someone else's server, just not on-prem, and that isn't the case. Cloud solutions are designed to be secure by design. They're scalable, redundant. With all of that is built in the design from the ground up. We're constantly looking at the green element of it. How much power we're consuming. Data centers get such a bad press when it comes to obviously how much power they consume, and it's valid. They do consume massive amounts of power, but there's actually efficiency at scale. If we were to think of just AI as a technology, if we were putting that all within on-prem servers, the amount of power each, collectively they would consume would be much greater than centralizing it. This is because each, on-prem solution would have to have enough resource for the most busiest of times, and where most of the time it wouldn't actually be used. Whereas you go and put that in, in a scalable cloud platform, there's efficiency in numbers, there's efficiency at scale. So I think, Rich and Mike have made some great points. It is the way to go.
So when we talk about managed cloud offerings, what does that actually mean for video surveillance as a service users in practical terms?
I often say when you sign up to a number of cloud platforms, whether it's video surveillance as a service or other cloud platforms, it's often like signing up to, say, Netflix. You sign up, you pay subscription, and you're left to consume whatever it is you want off that service. If you've got issues setting up devices or user profiles in your accounts, you're often on your own. If there is support, it may well be community-led support, or it could be delayed. Here at Seeing, we manage that whole journey. So that's from the onboarding, the setting up of user accounts, even to training your end users. On top of that, we proactively manage all of the camera connections. So if a camera does go off, we will be working in the background to ascertain why that is. We'll be reaching out to the IT teams, or maybe even the network providers if we're providing that connectivity piece for the customer. If they need help finding footage, or using a particular part of the system, we're here to help via email, the phone, or even doing remote screen shares. So basically, we are here to support everything from the beginning to the end, I guess, apart from actually choosing what film the customer's going to watch.
Yeah, and what that means for Charlie Bigham's in practice, it is the smart way forward. It removes the burden of maintaining on-premise hardware. It scales effortlessly, and it provides enterprise-grade security controls that may be costly and time-consuming to replace internally. So for me, in short, VSaaS isn't a compromise. It's a modern, secure, and highly reliable approach that does align perfectly with my IT strategy, and I think any forward-thinking IT strategy for any other company. So my comments are it's absolutely the smart way to go, and I just wish I could have done it sooner. But yeah, it's fantastic.
I think from my point of view as an installer, really reiterating some of the comments already made, is it knowing that support's in place and it leaves us to get on and focus on the everyday tasks that we want to do. So it makes life more efficient for us and our support guys as well to get on and do support on other systems.
So where do you see video surveillance as a service or cloud CCTV market going in the next 5 years? Richard, do you want to start us off?
Sure. I think the VSaaS and cloud video market is currently predicted to outperform your overall video surveillance market, probably match it to half in the next 5 years. So that sets on the stage that following that 5-year stretch, it's going to go on again and again. And a lot of that is being driven by customers swapping from your conventional CapEx purchase to subscriptions, and also some of the intelligence that we can provide to people's existing cameras through the cloud solution.
Yeah, I agree with everything Richard's just said, actually. I think a VSaaS solution will be the dominant leader, if not already, in the future. And it will make on-premise CCTV solutions sort of a thing of the past. A point I was going to make is we were able to bring a new site online within days because the platform connects securely across our network with minimal deployment overhead, and that just wouldn't be true with an on-premise sort of physical install. And that kind of agility is invaluable for growing businesses, especially with the challenges all businesses face today. And with distributed estates, being able to bring other sites online in that quickly is just something legacy systems can't match. They can't compete with that. And with the need, as I've mentioned before, with companies wanting a higher standard and needing a higher standard of cybersecurity, it just makes that easier, and puts you in good stead for kind of those certifications and qualifications that all businesses are looking for now. So I think it's the only way to go, really, and you have to go, maybe, but that's just my opinion.
No, that's a great point there. I think, our perspective is it is the only way to go. A 5-year time span or review, it's a big ask. I know from a CM perspective, our roadmap for the next 12 months is packed with features, and they're not just technology advancements. They're also time-saving tools. Mike's covered off earlier. How much time the system saves. We strongly believe that a feature shouldn't just be for the sake of the feature. It has to save time, and it has to increase value. And by value, I don't just mean value for the primary service, like for Mike, being the primary service owner, but for the wider teams within the business. They may not be people who see that as video as a tool for them to use, but it might be HR teams, or it could be logistics teams. There is definite value that video surveillance can offer to people outside of that. Our 12-month roadmap is great. The new developments that are there, they're going to go to all of our customers. When a feature is released, everybody gets it by default, which is not something that you get with a traditional system. So I think this is where the SaaS deployment model does really aid customers, and it gives them that continuing value as things go on. So I guess, come back to the question, the 5 years, what's it going to look like? It's going to look vastly different to where we are now. Obviously, I have to mention AI. It's going to become the norm. Lots in the news about if we're in a bubble, and that that bubble is going to implode and cause problems. And yes, a shakedown is probably on the cards, but AI isn't going to go away. And I think what enterprises and software providers need to really focus on is how AI can deliver true value. It's not just a case of delivering AI for the sake of AI. I like to think of it as IA, so intelligent automation. This is like not delivering it for sake, like I was just saying, but using AI to deliver automation in an intelligent way. I think that's the real key. We talk about how AI is going to enhance jobs, potentially make some jobs obsolete, but I think it's about how we use it in a responsible and intelligent way to improve systems and functions. I guess that's one big area. I think the other area that we'll see a lot of change over the next 5 years, smart cities, from the benefits of 5G as the 5G rollout accelerates. Also more powerful and lower powered IoT devices, so we're going to see a lot more smart tech coming on board, and that's something that as a platform we're embracing. We're talking today very much about cameras, but there's a lot of more that we're doing in our future roadmap regarding the smart devices that we'll bring on board. So lots of change. I guess my other area that I'd really hedge a bet on is natural language processing, and this will be how we're interfacing with our devices. We're all used to using a keyboard and mouse to it, or touchscreens to interface with our devices. But as humans, we talk, and I think we're going to be talking a lot more to our devices as a primary interface method to get them to do things. So yeah. 5 years, I could be totally wrong.
Thank you so much, guys. So before we wrap up, is there anything you'd like to add or any final thoughts for our listeners?
There's a lot covered in there, so I would say if you've not seen or looked into it, then you probably owe it to yourself to have a little look, scratch the surface and see what you find.
Yeah, and just on that point, Richard, I think VSaaS will continue to mature, offering kind of those smarter analytics Phil mentioned with the functionality that you guys are continually developing. It's fantastic. So it's always evolving, and that obviously is part and parcel of the solution. With that tight integration, the sort of secure ecosystem which is inherent in that sort of service is fantastic, and all the automation that really helps, saving more time. I just think it sets the new benchmark for how CCTV should be delivered and managed, and you guys are doing that, which is why we like to partner with you.
And I think from us, as a manufacturer of the Seeing product, I think we are here to support not only our integration partners like AlertSystems, but also our end users in Charlie Bigham's and Mike and his whole team through the managed approach that we use. If anybody does want to check out and have a little bit of a demo, they can reach out to us via our website. There is also a 5-minute demo video that you can go online, just view and actually get a 5-minute. I'm amazed marketing managed to get so much into such a short video. They've done amazingly well there, so do check out that video. And I guess the other point we made earlier on, and it's always one to come back to, is a big push for rip and replace to migrate to the cloud. It doesn't have to be that way. We will work with any IP camera that's on your network. So back to the point of green credentials and legacy support. Check it out.
Yeah, that's a good point, Phil. And Mike, that's exactly what we've done with you. You're able to utilise your existing estate of cameras to migrate onto the cloud and not have to rip and replace.
Yeah, true. That's a very good point. So that kept the costs down for us immensely, which was fantastic. So pleased we could do that.
Great. Thank you so much for joining me today, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.